Now, good morning, first of all, and thank you for being here. And my name is Mriganka Singh. I've been selected for West Bengal Revenue Service in WBCS 2021. So in this session, I'll be trying to just put across the things that I learned during my journey, because for me, success wasn't a one-step process. It took me a long time to get here. So since you all are freshers, right, I hope that my experiences, or more appropriately, my mistakes, right, or which things I think if I had done differently would have got me here quicker, I would say, right? So at the very outset, I'll just say whatever queries you have, we'll take it at the end of the session if it's all right. Yeah. And if anything I mention or anything I say that you do not understand, you can just raise your hands and we'll discuss it then and there. All right. Otherwise, any other extra queries or anything that we'll be discussing at the end of the session. All right. Now, I hope you all have seen the prelims result, the cutoff and all of it, right? So the cutoff has gone quite high, 101, right? Now, for this examination or any competitive examination, be it BCS or UPSC, there are 3 stages to it, correct? So there's a preliminary, which is more of a screening test. So more than selection, it will be a test of rejection. So the ones who are not fit will be removed from the screening test. All right. So that is the preliminary. So your idea for preliminary, since it is MCQ based, your idea for, or more appropriately, your take on prelims should be such that you attempt as many questions as you have, right? Because over the years we've seen the cutoff is going quite high, right? Clear, just looking at the previous year cutoff and scoring only those many questions is not going to get you beyond the line. All right. So for clearing prelims, you'll have to gather expansive knowledge. All right. Rather than going in depth into one subject, right? You will have to cover an expanse of it, right? And you should, at the very beginning of your preparation stage, you should start going through the previous year questions, right? Get a syllabus at hand, all right? Go through the syllabus first. Jot out what are your strengths and weaknesses in the syllabus itself, right? Because I'm sure science students, for example, all right, you've studied science in +2 level, your science and tech section will be at hand. So you won't have to be giving too much time into that section of the paper, clear? So at the same time, history, geography, right, art subject will be a little of a challenge to you. So start with those subjects, I would suggest. When you have time in hand, you're just starting off, right? Look at your weaknesses and work on it. Because at prelims, there's nothing called that, this section, I'm leaving out this section. Because every section has quite a big chunk of marks. If you leave out any ones, you can say one section, right, your chances of qualifying prelims is going to decrease manifold. Clear? So at the very beginning of your preparation, don't go into that mindset that, I won't be doing this at all. মানে আমি স্কুলে হিস্ট্রি পড়িনি বলে বা হিস্ট্রি ভালো লাগতো না বলে আমি হিস্ট্রি আর হাত দিচ্ছি না. If you go into that mindset, it is going to be troublesome for you. All right? So be open to everything. Whatever you're learning, learn with a fresh mind. Whatever marks you got at your school level, graduation level, whatever it is, leave that behind. Because there are many, many examples you will see that the people who did not score well at graduation level or at school level have excelled in this examination. So this examination is going to be all about your perseverance, how rational you think about a subject, and how you can manage the stress, right? Patience is the key for this examination. Because if you're here in this, you can say battle, I would say, right? So just thinking that at one go you're going to clear it, if it goes, it well and good, right? Nothing better than that. But don't get disheartened if you do not qualify at the very first attempt. Give your 100% for clearing it, right? Because you know that the level of competition that there is, right? The passing marks, right? Reaching that passing marks has become an insurmountable battle nowadays. If you see the number of students who gave the examination, only around 4,960 students have qualified prelims, right? So you can understand the amount of pressure you will have to go through, and also the amount of hard work that you will have to give in. Clear? So keep this mindset from the very beginning. You do not enter this examination with the mindset that ঠিক আছে graduation হয়ে গেছে, Well, I'll have to kill 1 year, or I'll have to try my hand at something, right? So from the very beginning, have a strategy with yourself that how are you going to pursue this examination, because it will vary from people to people, right? What I strategize might not work well for you. So you have to customize your routine, you have to customize your planning process. All right. Now, for today's topic, we've been given that we'll be discussing how you're going to take on GK and current affairs, one of the most vast, you can say, topics that you have. Because for every other section, if you see, the amount of syllabus has been written, it has been defined. For example, history, if you take history, they've totally defined ancient, medieval, and modern. So there are only a few couple of books. If you go through it, you'll be covering history. But with GK questions or current affairs question, right, you cannot ever predict. If you've seen the 2023 prelims paper, you must be knowing the questions were varied, especially in GK and your current affairs section. You could not have guessed that somewhere Indian Postal Service the kind of question is chilo, right? In no current affair, you will find that question easily, right? So you don't prepare for those kind of questions. Those kind of questions you will be answering only with your general awareness that you've shown throughout the period of your preparation. Because these are the topics that you cannot just mug up. You cannot mug up so much of current affairs or so much of data. Every month, if you see your magazines or if you see your newspaper, if you start jotting everything down, right, GK and current affairs itself is going to take up all your time. So two things. First, keep a few limited source for these two topics, GK and current affairs, right? Don't go into searching everything that there is in the market. For example, if I'm following a particular magazine, current affairs magazine monthly, right, for UPSC, say Vision IS, right, and my friends is doing Browse or Insights or anything, right, don't go into taking up every magazine that there is in the market. Stick to one, because if you stick to one for 12 months or say 15 months, here and there, they are going to cover every major topic. Maybe in one magazine they've covered it in the month of February, but your magazine will cover it in the month of March. All right. So don't go into that habit. Make very crisp notes. Your notes should be a reflection of the gist of the news. Your notes should not be 1 page long. মানে পেপারে 1 page article বেরিয়েছে, so you will have to make a note of around 1 page in that note copy of yours. That does not make sense, right? And try not to keep paper cuttings. We are in a habit that every newspaper পড়ে মানে just cut করে এটা important মনে হচ্ছে বলে আমি রেখে দেবো. At the end of 6 months, say, you'll have this thick current paper cuttings, right? Going through that will be a challenge. Because at the beginning of your preparation period, you feel that you have a lot of time, right? But as you go through it, you don't have much time at all. Because these are not the only two topics that you'll be covering. Understood? There'll be all other subjects. For example, history is going to take history, polity, economics. These three are going to take the chunk of your time. Clear? Because economics se jimni acha questions, just getting the theory will not be able to answer questions by just taking on the theory. You'll have to apply the theory in the questions, right? Now, do you want me to discuss the pattern? I hope you know the pattern of the paper for WBCS and UPSC as well, right? Now, MCQ questions in WBCS, I'm saying, right, marks has been allotted 25 kore each section, 25 they have allotted, right? For 200 marks, 25 kore section kora ache, 8 sections. Clear? But recently the trend, we've seen that they're not following exactly that pattern, right? It's not necessary that since in your answer in your syllabus it's given as 25 marks each, it's not necessary they are not covering 25 each. Clear? It might be some section will vary here and there, so you cannot put up question for that 25 bolechilo 25 asheni. ঠিক আছে? Next is jotting down what your sections or what your primary focus will be in the examination. See, if it is a 200 marks paper, you've seen 101 is the current is the cut of this year, right? So say you will be aiming for 135, right? Because you will have to score more. Because for example, you think that I mean history te 20 page abo, right? My history is strong, I'll get 20 out of 25, correct? But it might be for that particular year, right, history questions were on the difficult side, right? Whereas geography, you had thought that it is difficult, right? I'll only get 15 out of 25. By getting, I'm going to aim that 15 questions from geography I'll have to pick up, right? Geography in the paper, when you scan the paper, you're going to see geography is easier. You answered, instead of 15, you answered 20 questions. Clear? So at the examination, that probabilities might changes, right? What you already decide might change at that period of time. So aiming for 135, you'll have to jot down that what your strengths are, where you are going to get the maximum marks out of it, right? For some people, maths is going to be easy, right? Because maths is one of the most scoring subjects over there. Because if you get the answer, you get the answer, correct? Because whereas in you say geography, right, the amount of syllabus that you cover and the amount of question that comes in is, the ratio is a much less. So your first work starting with this preparation should be deciding what your scoring subjects will be. Clear? Keeping them aside, doing them every day religiously. Then take up questions or take up sections which you are lagging behind in. All right? Because it is not necessary that all of you will be giving equal time to each sections. It's not possible, right? For me, I would say doing economics took up major time. I wasn't aware of economics at all when I started my preparation, right? I was okay at history. I was okay in geography. So I knew that even at the end of my preparation, I'm going to pick up the pace for geography and history. I allotted my majority of my time to polity and economics. Majority of my time. So it wasn't an equal distribution of time for me. So you will have to decide for that for yourself. Then I've suggested it every time I've come here, right? That you should make everyday goals. Like every day. First, you make a monthly course, right? That over the span of, say, you have the examination preliminary in December. You hardly have much time at hand, right? So you decide that by November, what are the sections that I'm going to cover. Yes. Once you do that, set up monthly goals, right? That in this month, I'm going to cover this section. After that, set daily goals. Clear? Because by doing that, your preparation does not go out of hand. Because once you start or once you delve into this preparation mode, you will see that you lose track of time. At the end of preparation of say 3 months, you'll see time ta kothay gelo, ami just ektai section niye boshe achi, right? Amar history shesh hocche na 2 মাস বেরিয়ে গেছে এখানে, right? So that way what happens, we have a tendency that আমার geography পড়তে ভালো লাগছে, তো আমি geography নিয়ে বসে আছি, that আমি geography পুরোটা পড়ে নেব। Geography তে 25 এ 25, I'll get 25 out of 25. But will that get you beyond the line of the cutoff? Just focusing on this 1 or 2 subjects, it will not, right? So allot your time very smartly and set very doable goals, all right? Very doable goals that what you will not feel bad about it at the end of the day. You set very overachieving, say goals that ami ajke etao shesh korbo, I'll do this, I'll do that, all of it. But at the end of the day, you will see you have only limited period of time at your hand. Some of you might be studying, some of you might be working, right? So it is not going to be the same for all. So it should be whatever time you allot to a particular subject or particular day, whatever hours that you put in. It does not necessarily have to be 8 hours plus. Even if you're putting in 3 hours a day, you should be religiously and honestly be putting those hours. If you are putting 3 hours to preparation, it should only be 3 hours for your preparation, nothing else. Clear? So next that I'll suggest is very smart studying, right? I've seen people, even myself, right? I've studied and put in too many hours. I've studied everything that there is, right? But maybe I've not studied smartly about something, right? I'm putting in extra hours for subjects or for sections which are very low scoring, but takes up too much of my time. In history, I'll tell you, peasant movement, right? All those kind of rebellions and all those kind of wars are there, right? And I'm very bad at it. Because in examination, they directly ask you years from it. Kon year hoyechilo, kothay hoyechilo, and what were the contentious behind it, right? So every year of my preparation for initial years, I used to put in like 1 week behind it, right? আমি ওই রাম্পা রিবেলিয়ন পড়ছি, আমি এই প্রেজেন্ট এই সেই করেই যাচ্ছি, right? But even after, say, these are very theoretical part, right? There's nothing to understand there. So after again 1 month, if I go back to it, I've forgotten everything again. So after one time, you have to decide that এটা হচ্ছে না, right? It's taking too much of my time because it is killing my time behind it, right? So you need to draw a line that this part, I'm only going to allot this much hours. যদি ওটা হয় ঠিক আছে, or else I'm moving ahead. ঠিক আছে? Just don't laboriously মানে একটা hours পর after just out of যে এটা হচ্ছে না আমি করেই ছাড়বো এটা সেটা, don't become that person. Be smart in your strategizing. Clear? Because we're not meant to know everything. You're just only meant to know the cutoff. Just you'll have to just cross the cutoff. It is not a test of your knowledge in that paper. It is a test of your smartness. That আমি কি করে 200 এ which questions, choosing the questions again is very important. Which questions if I choose, right, I'm going to get marks out of it. Next is smart guesswork. And where does this guesswork comes from? You cannot be really wildly guessing anything in the examination paper because you'll have to think of the negative marking also, right? So start solving previous year questions first, and once you've covered previous year questions, go into solving MCQs. Now for mock test, again very very important, right? Routinely giving mock test initially. Since this is the start of your preparation, start with sectional mocks. What does sectional mock means? Not giving full length examination. 200 questions, you will not have to attempt 200 questions. Take, for example, 15 days you've studied history, right? Take a mock test with 50 questions of history. And then check your preparation level. That what you were doing so long, is it really paying off? Because if you don't assess yourself, right, then you do not know if you're going in the right direction or not. Right? Just, I'm putting those hours, but I do not know if it is actually going to give me marks or not. So it is important to routinely, and you can say at every break, right, for 15 days. It can be a 15-day break. After, say, 15 days of studying, you're going to assess yourself. That আমি যেগুলো পড়ছিলাম, is it really fetching me marks? Am I really able to answer? Because reading theory is one thing, but answering questions from that theory, MCQ especially, is a different thing. You will see, while you're studying polity, for example, Lakshmikant সবার কাছে আছে, right? If you are studying Lakshmikant, while you're studying it, it will feel very easy. But হ্যাঁ, এটা তো বুঝতে পারছি, right? For example, take the chapter on parliament, right? It's a big chapter. While you're, or fundamental rights, most of the questions come from a few sections of the chapters. Fundamental rights, parliament, these are all very important chapters, right? When you're studying that 36, 40 pages, odd pages of parliament, you'll think that হ্যাঁ এগুলো তো আমি জানি, এগুলো সব বুঝতে পারছি, right? All of it you will feel that yes, আমি সব বুঝে গেছি, what is the composition, what is the strength of Rajya Sabha, what is the quorum, all of it. But the moment you start answering on that particular chapter, the kind of options যেগুলো থাকবে, right? 14 days, 15 days, 21 days, 17 days, right? After you've completed that chapter, you will not be able to recall it because there are so many data in that one particular chapter. So একবার পড়ে হবে না. After you give the mock, you assess yourself, you get a score for yourself, right? তুই নিজে চেক করবি আনসার কি বসে. You don't have to go and give the test somewhere or get it checked. MCQ তো নিজে চেক করতে পারবি, right? So just check করবি what, and then assessing where you are going wrong. That is important. Just MCQ দিয়ে নম্বরটা পেয়ে তারপর ছেড়ে দিলাম, that is not the way of giving MCQ. All right? You write the MCQ, get the marks out of it, then start with the solution part. That where did you go wrong? And why did you go wrong? Because whatever questions have come from that chapter itself. And you studied that chapter once or twice. Then why did you go wrong? Because your pattern or the way you were studying was not all right. So then change again. Go back to the chapter again and see where did you go wrong. And what was the... See, once you understand the chapter, then I think if you revise it twice or thrice, you're going to go there. All right? You'll be able to mark answers. That is one. I would say benefit of mocks. Another is it gives you a very, you can say, streamlined, rational process of thinking, right? Because if you're giving a chapter, for example, I told you about parliament, you gave the test, right? You saw যে আমার এখানে ভুল হয়েছে. Next, when you go to study fundamental rights, you know how you have to study. Because question eto সহজে জিজ্ঞেস করবে না. Then when you're studying the next chapter, you will know that how to streamline your studying, that particular chapter. Right? So, and that rational thought process that comes from giving more and more mocks will ultimately help you in the examination, the day of your examination. Right? Then you'll not feel that stress. Also, number 3, or the benefit of, another benefit of giving mocks is your, I would say, intelligent guessworking. You know, I don't know if you've felt this, or once you start giving the mocks, you'll feel it. The more mocks you give, right, even the questions which you've not heard of, or which you are actually very double-minded about, that you know, duto option mone hocche kono ekta thik hobe, but once you give more and more mocks, you have this habit of knowing that na eta mone hocche eta thik hobe, right? So that is your subconscious working. Because you are in a habit of marking and your habit of giving mocks, you will know that which one to answer. Right? It helps you when you are in a double-minded state. All right. Now, my topic that we are doing for today, okay, how to read GK and current affair. All right. Now, we talked about the first part, that is understanding the examination pattern, right? And examination pattern not only just by looking at the syllabus, examination pattern by looking at the previous year questions, right? For example, English, if you see English section of prelims, right, it is very scoring if you know good class 10 level English. All right. And the more previous year questions you solve, you'll see some of the questions are often repeated. Maybe not directly, the theme of the chapter is repeated. Clear? For example, number of questions that have been often come in one way or the other from the Sultanate period. All right. You'll see there are few previous questions that once you start solving, you know, I'm saying it, you'll not be able to understand. Once you go back and look at the previous year question, you yourself will be able to pinpoint after going through 4 or 5 papers that ekhan theke beshi question jigesh korche and which part you will have to stress on, because history in itself is a very vast syllabus. So you'll have to understand je kon part e kotota time dite hobe. All right. Now, sources for general knowledge, right? Now, once you go through the sources, first of all, again, limit your source, all right? Do not go into studying every book that there is. Have you seen Lucent's or Arihan's general knowledge book? Do not buy both of them, only get one. They're almost similar. For example, I followed Lucent's. Lucent's is a general knowledge paper boita acha, right? It will help not only in prelims, but also in mains paper. Science and text section, history section, geography, economics, all of it. Lucent's section kora ache. It is one of the most useful book for qualifying WBCS. All right. So Lucent's book, and then if you see, next is newspapers. Again, any one of you are in the habit of reading newspapers? In the habit of newspaper? No. Okay. Start reading newspapers. All right. Now, reading newspaper should be understanding which section of the newspaper is important. Everyday affairs are not important, like everyday at the government level what affairs are going on, right? You will have to understand the implications of that particular event, if it is important for the state or the country. It can be an agreement signed with another state or another country. It can be an MOU with some other country or state, right? Those kind of events. Nowadays, sports section has taken a lot of precedence. Go through the sports section once. Now, sports section, you will have to only know the milestones, right? Who won it, against whom did a particular tournament was done, right? And BCS prelims a very recurring question is, they'll give you any cup, Thomas Cup, Davis Cup, Durant Cup. They'll give you the name of that cup and they'll ask you for which sports is it related. Mostly these questions are asked from ongoing events. For example, Durant Cup is about to start. So you can always expect that Durant Cup is related to which of it. Understood? So these kind of questions, you don't separately study these topics, right? It might feel vast like this. So ei noy je just boshe cups gulo naam likhe tarpor eta porbi, right? If you go through newspaper or even any for example, any news analysis of a day, you'll see briefly they'll mention something that this is going on. At that time, you might not even feel that this is important. But later, when you see it in an examination paper, you will feel that, ha, eta okhane shunechhilam, eta hocche ekhon. It's like that. ঠিক আছে? Next is newspaper. I bolchi, if you are not in the habit of newspaper, right? Do not, and if you are appearing for the prelims just around the corner, that is in December, don't start newspaper reading right now. Only start newspaper reading now if you have at least 1 year at hand. Or else go through the monthly magazines or news analysis. দেখবি অনেক চ্যানেলস আছে, অনেক জায়গা আছে যেখানে ফুল ডে একটা ব্রিফ করে দিয়ে দেয় that these are the headlines of the paper and these are the special events that occurred. I'm only saying it if you are short in time. If you're going from the long run, for example, if you're appearing it for next year, start newspaper reading. Because there is nothing better than your own notes. Remember that. Because once you're studying, that is two-way. Once you're reading it, once you're writing it. So it becomes a core memory for you. All right. Next is magazines. Again, only one magazine. All right. One magazine and one current events. Okay, sir? Don't go into mugging up the magazine at the very first go. Because if you've seen any particular current affair magazine, it takes around 150 pages averaging. For special months, for example, December, January, or November, where there are more events, it will go to around 200, 220 pages. So you will have to first go through it, just normal like a casual reading, underlining what are important events. Then just start with revising it again after 2 or 3 months. Revision is the key to any particular understanding of the subject or section. If you have to memorize it, if you have to keep in mind till the period of your examination, you will have to go on multiple revision. All right, at least 3 times revision before the examination. Clear? You're studying once now. After 3 months, you study it again, and one just before the examination. Understood? And then online resources, try to not visit too many websites, right? Because again, you'll become very jumbled up. There are too many sources, online sources right now. Too many. You are spoiled for choices right now. There are so many of innovative techniques of teaching nowadays, right? You will have mind maps, you will have flashcards, you will have this, that, all of it. So your examination period is not a trial and error period. That let me study this way this year, next year jodi na hoy tale next year I'll switch to this. Stick to one. Trust me, all of them, I'm saying it from experience, all of them once, or if you stick to one, right, you'll cover all of it. Because they will cover important events one way or the other. News to ar notun kore banabe na kyo, right? Or they will not remove important news at all. One question might go here and there, but the majority, the chunk of it will be covered in either of the months. All right. Next is yearbooks. Again, India yearbook is one of the most recognized books. They say that it is one that most opted for by aspirants. I personally did not ever see, I've not even seen India yearbook, I'll just be honest with it. Because I thought the amount of sources that I had at hand, right, that was itself being too much to cover. মানে আমি নিজে নিউজ পড়ে নোটস যদি বানাই, তারপর কারেন্ট অ্যাফেয়ারের একটা ম্যাগাজিন আছে, and then one other magazine for it can be Pratyogita Darpan, Kurukshetra, any of it, then I think it is more than enough. Because তোকে শুধু এই দুটো তোকে নিয়ে চলতে হবে না, তোকে 8টা সেকশন কভার করতে হবে, right? So it is up to you, right? But India yearbook is very, you can say, known for its question pattern, মানে the amount of questions that comes from there. Okay. Now, the last topic, if you see compilation of books, right? I'm sure you've gone through that. The NCERT, even APTI Plus has its own news, that brief or compilation of NCERTs from 6 to 12, right? Since you are running low on time, if you are appearing for this year's examination, right, go through these books. Instead of covering all the books from NCERT from 6 to 12, it's a very tedious task. Because the lower classes 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 NCERT, you will hardly get around 5 to 6 pages worth of notes out of it, right? Because mostly if you cover 11 and 12 NCERT, those books you will get hardly 5 or 6 pages max of notes out of it. So for those 5 and 6 pages of notes, going through each year's book, it will take a lot of time. But if you're a totally fresher on time acha kun hate, then you can start with it. Then make your own notes. You will, for example, if you have no idea about say economics, right? Go through the social sciences books of NCERT, right? Then you will come into the briefing of it. But at this stage, I think 11 and 12 NCERT and this compilation should be enough. Now, if you see practice quizzes and mock test, we already discussed it, right? There are a number of websites that cover daily quizzes on current events or current affairs. You can just simply give it on your phone. When you're traveling, just khule diye. There are a few questions that you could not answer. Go back home, just jot it down. So use these resources like that. While you're traveling, you can always use your online resources at that time. The number of sites giving everyday current affair test and static test. What is static test? Your other sections, right? And then current events se ekta current affairs se ekta test. All right. Now I bought a few questions with me for current affairs এটা এসেছিল, right? I'll go with current affairs just to tell you what are the different avenues that are covered. So if you see, there was a question on where Pitt Island is recently in news. Where is it? Pitt Island. All right. Then there was artificial moon project. Which country started the artificial moon project? Then India recently signed the economic and trade agreement. Which of the country? Then Indian sports person appointed as friendship ambassador by Switzerland Tourism. Now, if you see, these questions are not something that you can simply go and mark just by out of guesswork, right? It's not possible. If you do not know these answers, there's no way of being double-minded or being guessing about it at all. If you know current affair or GK questions, you know it, or else there's no way of answering, other way of answering it. And I would suggest do not take guessworking for these two sections. All right, because these two sections are very unpredictable sections, right? Static portion, you already are in the habit of studying them, so your guesswork might work, right? But these sections are not the part where you should be guessworking. Then what I was saying, Thomas Cup of International Badminton Championship was won by in 2022 by, right? See, or 1 year they can simply give you what is Thomas Cup associated with or Davis Cup associated with. Then in which city of Australia will be hosting the Commonwealth game for that particular year? All right. So again, these kind of sports section, I told you, they keep asking sports questions, right? For example, any milestone that has been covered by any Indian sports person, be it cricket, football, anything. You should, for this year appearing student, you should study Sunil Chhetri and his milestone this year. He just played his last game, right? So you should know his tally of awards and all of it. Then current Chief of Army Staff of India. Then Lata Mangeshkar was awarded Bharat Ratna in. Again, these medallions, Bharat Ratna or Padma Vibhushan, all of it is very important. All right. Who was sometimes they also give you 4 names. Which one of the following were never awarded a Bharat Ratna? These kind of questions can also be asked. Then recently, which of the following was appointed as ambassador of India to US? All right. You should know the major names of the ambassadors, especially of the countries which at least any you can say eminent dignitary from our country is visiting. If they are visiting that particular country and it has resulted in major, you can say, milestone or any big cooperation or any agreement has been signed between them, any treaty has been signed between them, all right, you should know the ambassadors and major Indian personalities associated with that particular country. All right. Then, because it is not possible to know all the ambassadors of India, right? It will become a very tedious task. So you should be again doing smart work here. The countries which are in news, those countries, especially US, China, you say Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, with respect to India, they are always in news one way or the other. So any new appointings in these kind of countries, any new appointings as Prime Minister or President in any of the countries, right? Or any elections that have made news or that were recently in news for maybe their results, or any major landslide win by any particular party in any country which has resulted in re-election or election of a particular president or prime minister, you should know their names. ঠিক আছে? Then BIMSTEC, ASEAN, UN, these all the international organization, multilateral banks, development banks, their headquarters, their members, and their, you can say, core value. That what is their core theme or core value? Who do they share their themes with? These kind of knowledge you must have. Make a separate copy for or a separate note for international organizations. All the international organization that is in news, make sure India is a part of it or not a part of it. Okay, India, or if any country is leaving a particular major development treaty, UNESCO is very much in news now. All right. So সেটা তার UN এর কতগুলো language, it has been asked multiple time in WBCS. The number of languages associated with UN. All right. Major language or recognized language. ঠিক আছে? Then Best Director Award at Oscars. Oscars, all the wins of the Oscars, ঠিক আছে? Global Golden Globe, these kind of awards you should know, right? President Awards in India, you should know that. Sahitya Award Academy, right? Those. Then ISRO and NASA's, right? Special events by ISRO or NASA or major projects coming up. If you have seen Aditya L1 of ISRO coming up, you should know about it. Then if there is any other country working on the same lines, Mars, what are the countries associated with projects in Mars? These kind of knowledge you should have. Then GK question, if we see, all right, switching to GK questions. GK question, I think Lucents, if you cover Lucents, you cover a major part of it. ঠিক আছে? Lucent এর সায়েন্স এন্ড টেক এর পার্টটাও কভার করে এখানে। দেন Lucent এর কম্পিউটারের একটা রিজন আছে, রাইট? ইফ ইউ সিন BCS prelims এর সিলেবাস, computer is also a major section of it. Lucent এর সেই computer section is also covered. Clear? Then if you see GK questions, if they've asked you where is the headquarter of BIMSTEC, then Indian state which has declared Malakhamb as a state sport. Yes, you should know the folk dances, classical dances, their origin, the state they are associated with, right? Major personalities associated with them, all right? And then also what are the traditional sports of India? Traditional sports and like Malakhamb, for example, right? Then in Northeast, we have a number of such sports. Then Pongal is the main festival of, it is a harvest festival, which state, right? Then Bihu has been asked twice or thrice in BCS. সেটা দেখে নিবি একবার. Now presidents of India in order you should know. Any recent books that has been released by, even UPSC asked this question this year. Any special or any very eminent person has released any book, right, which is of consequence to the Indian state, সেটা দেখবি. Then the schemes, now West Bengal WBCS এর জন্য বলছি, the schemes of the West Bengal government, the specific schemes, not the central schemes, the specific state government schemes, Shobu Sathi, right, Kanyashri, all of it you should know. What are the, you can say, one of the year they asked the number of government hospital created, right? So these are the data that you just get by covering the websites. We don't ideally see this in our current affair magazine. If you just open their website and you just go through special each scheme separately, right? Just don't mug up everything, just know the core of it. Shobu Sathi কাকে নিয়ে আছে, what is the core idea behind it? That what is the benefit the government is giving for that particular scheme, and who are the beneficiaries? Basically, they'll ask you the beneficiary of it and what is the core, you can say, benefit of that particular scheme. If there is any interest subvention or any interest subsidy, food subsidy, these you should know. Then the cyclones hitting Indian coast, right? Which part of the coast is being hit and who named that particular cyclone, right? Which country has named it, that. Then questions from movies have also come, right? So Padman was a movie released in 2018. They asked a question that who was the inspiration behind this particular movie? So these kind of question also, now these are all awareness question. We don't study Bollywood movies and who directed it or who, right? It is just you're going through newspapers, just covering pages after pages, you just come across it. And if it gets across, it ঠিক আছে পরীক্ষা যদি মনে থাকে লিখে দিবি, or else don't guess in this particular section. ঠিক আছে? Now, International Day of Trophy, Constitution Day, then first Indian to receive Nobel Prize in Economics, right? Now, Nobel Prize, every year it is released, every year you should make a list of it. The 6 sections or 6 areas where they are given names and from which countries they are associated to. Tennis থেকে অনেক question জিজ্ঞেস করে, right? Tennis double, Wimbledon থেকে, Wimbledon is going on, right? You should know that. Now they also asked one year that tennis, which of the following is grass court e khela hoy, or which are konta red clay te use kora hoy, right? Then lucent একটা section আছে দেখবি, সেখানে লেখা আছে terms associated with sports, right? এটা direct ওখান থেকে question তুলে দিয়েছিল, they'll give you 2 or 3 terms and they'll tell you which of the following sports is associated with the following term, the above terms. ঠিক আছে? So সেগুলো একটা দেখবি। প্রথমেই আমার মনে হচ্ছে তোদের you should buy Lucent's general knowledge book. If you don't have it already, you should buy that particular book. ঠিক আছে? So now analytical approach যেটা আমি এখানে লিখেছি, right? What I mean by analytical approach is when you are doing any analysis, right? Your notes should not be a reflection of all the analysis that you've done behind page. Only the important takeaways you should be putting it down in your notes. Do not make your notes like a mota copy kore kore. By the end of the preparation, you will see that you have these stacks of copies just of your notes. তো কোনো লাভ হবে না সেটা নিয়ে, right? Your notes should be crisp and your notes should be just একবার পড়ে দেখলে মানে you will be able to recall যে হ্যাঁ এটা পড়েছিলাম, these were the key points of it. ঠিক আছে? And main say from now only you should decide what your optional is going to be. And this is apart from this topic, right? Now, once you just do not think of short term, prelims hoye gele, we'll see what is after that, right? Have you decided your optionals? All of you have done, right? Now, prepare your optionals from the very first time, because after prelims results are declared, you will not have enough time to start your mains preparation for optional from the very beginning. You should have your notes prepared for optional by that time. You can just go through the notes after prelims. ঠিক আছে? সেটা নিয়ে now I'll take on any queries if you have right now. Any queries regarding any of the stages of the examination or anything. Lastly, you have the personality test, right? Now, personality test is the one where I think prelims does not decide your rank, right? It is the mains and the personality test that will decide your rank and which service you're going to get, right? Now, mains is the major marks. Mains and major marks টা থাকছে যেখানে that will actually decide. And then interview there are high chances of scoring good. If any paper, for example, any paper did not go as you expected it, you'll have to make it up in the personality test. ঠিক আছে? Personality test is more about just having a conversation, and they're seeing that are you really, because your knowledge testing has already been done, right? When you go into personality testing, it is not about how many questions you answer or how many questions you did not answer. They do not look at that. They look at your confidence, your body language, your personality as a whole, that how you are taking on a particular question which you do not know, right? So in my personality test, there were a few questions that I could not answer, right? But it is about how the ones that you answer, how you answer them, and how you take on the question after the question that you've not answered. For example, আমি দুটো question পরপর answer করতে পারিনি, ঠিক আছে? So third question এ গিয়ে if you are fumbling or if you are still lagging behind, মানে আমি দুটো question answer করতে পারিনি বলে আমি এই third questionটা জেনেও বলতে পারবো না, সেটা তোকে মানে সামলাতে হবে সেখানে গিয়ে। Understood? Now, if you have any questions, any query, any of it, just let me know, okay? Word limit দেখো, word limit it will again UPSC যেমনি word limit পুরো define করে দিয়েছে, right? You do not have such defined stature for BCS, but over there you will have to be again, you will have to use your graduation knowledge there. ঠিক আছে? You see a particular question for 5 marks, ঠিক আছে? You will just answering or reading the news, মানে just covering that particular portion is not going to do. ওই 3 ঘন্টার মধ্যে তোকে পুরো পেপারটা কমপ্লিট করতে হবে। তো একটা কোয়েশ্চেন 10 মার্কসের আছে বলে আমি 3 পাতা লিখবো, কিন্তু তারপরে গিয়ে দেখছি লাস্টে আই লিভ আউট 30 মার্কস কোয়েশ্চেন, ইজ নট আ ভেরি স্মার্ট চয়েস। ঠিক আছে? তো এই ওয়ার্ড লিমিটটা আগে থেকেই at your graduation level you should, what word limit you used at that time, you should be trying to do somewhere around that, or even less will do, but don't exceed it. ঠিক আছে? Nobody likes a 3-page answer for a 5 marks or 10 marks question. ঠিক আছে? And with optional, তোর optional কি? হ্যাঁ, এগ্রিকালচার। ওকে, সো এগ্রিকালচারে তো এমনিও বেশি বানাতে পারবি না, মানে ওই ওয়ার্ড লিমিট নিয়েও বাকি না নিয়েও বাকি, যেটা জিজ্ঞেস করেছে সেটা তোকে লিখতেই হবে। ঠিক আছে? যেমনি আমার বটানি ছিল, সো বটানি আর এগ্রিকালচার পেপার 2 টা অলমোস্ট সিমিলার, রাইট? সো দেয়ার ইজ নট মাচ দ্যাট ইউ ক্যান মানে এক্সিড। যে ওয়ার্ড লিমিট আছে বলে আমি বেশি লিখে যাচ্ছি, কি লিখবি তুই? বাট অনেকটা লেখার তো একটু টাইম নেই, মানে ইভেন দ্য ওয়ান্স হু আর রাইটিং এনি আদার অপশন ফর সে হিস্ট্রি যেটা বলছিস, সেটাও এটা তো নয় যে ওরা লিখতেই যাবে, ওদেরও তো 3 ঘন্টা টাইম, আর তোর কাছেও 3 ঘন্টা টাইম, right? So you will have to manage according to your speed and also according to the marks allotted for that particular question. ঠিক আছে? And মানে try to choose your optional smartly, I would say that. ঠিক আছে? Because optional group A and B, if you've seen for WBCS group A and B তে তোকে দিতে হবে optional, right? For C and D optional is not mandatory. You will only have to write 6 compulsory papers. Now optional will decide, ঠিক আছে, if you make it through this mains or not, because the first 6 papers almost everyone has same level or average level of you can say preparation. মানে তুই বেশি কিছু হিস্ট্রিতে আর পড়তে পারবি না, এমসিকিউ বেস বেশি কিছু করতে পারবি না। তো যেটা তুই করেছিস অলমোস্ট সবাই সেই বই পড়েছে, লক্ষ্মীকান্ত তুই পড়েছিস, সবাই লক্ষ্মীকান্ত পড়েছে। only if there are 5 or 6 questions that are apart, মানে যেটা sets apart, but that's not much a difference. It does not make much difference between the marks. It is actually the optional that decides that how ahead you are or how lagging you are. So optionalটা খুব wisely choose করবি, and don't use take optional just because you think that এই optionale আগে অনেক নম্বর উঠেছে। ঠিক আছে? এই ভেবে optional choose মানে that should not be your deciding factor, that this particular optional is very scoring, so I should take this. ঠিক আছে? When I took botany as my optional, a number of people told me botany kyun lekhe na, do not write botany, take something else that is scoring. All right? But my mindset was that I cannot take up a whole new subject and start from the very beginning. মানে তুই একটা গ্রাজুয়েশন করে যে অ্যানথ্রোপোলজি লেভেলটা লিখবি, আমি সেইটা বটানি পড়ে সেই লেভেলে অ্যানথ্রোপোলজি লিখতে গিয়ে আমার অনেক টাইম লাগবে, এখন আমি সেটা এখন তুলতে পারবো না অতটা, রাইট? বিকজ অবভিয়াসলি সামওয়ান হু ইজ ডান masters in anthropology is going to write much better answer than what I write as a fresher. ঠিক আছে? So I was the only one writing botany in PSC, মানে যেবার আমার মেন্স পড়েছিল, I was alone writing botany. ঠিক আছে? But see, it depends on how you are answering it. ঠিক কথা লিখলে তো তোকে কেউ ভুল দেবে না, that does not happen, right? So you should be confident about what you know, right? This whole examination is about that. You should know what you're writing, and you should know what particular questions you're going to attempt, right? And I would say optionally don't leave out any question. Don't leave out any question, don't be in that tendency. And answer writing এর habit সবার আছে, মানে you have that speed writing, না এমসিকিউ সলভ করে করে সেই হ্যাবিটটা চলে যাচ্ছে। মানে এটাই হয় কয়েক বছর পর, মানে এটাই হয় যে মানে ওই পেন ধরে এক পাতা আনসার লেখার ওই হ্যাবিটটা চলে যাবে, রাইট? You will not be able to write so much of questions for those 3 hours. So don't lose that habit. And আমি বলছি না এখন থেকে আনসার রাইটিং করতে হবে, জাস্ট I would say that start taking notes. যখন নোটস বানাচ্ছিস লিখছিস বোঝা, সেখানে just write it in that format that you are writing it in speed. Don't take up the whole day making notes. ঠিক আছে? Any other question? হ্যাঁ 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 So sociology and what was your graduation mathematics? ম্যাথমেটিক্স নিয়ে গ্র্যাজুয়েশন করেছিস, অ্যানথ্রোপোলজি পড়েছিস, সোশিওলজি পড়েছিস, দুটোই বুঝতে পারছিস। আচ্ছা, কনফিউশন নেই, ভালো হচ্ছে। তাহলে সোশিওলজি পড়তে গেছিস কেন? হ্যাঁ, তো এখানে অ্যানথ্রোপোলজি আছে তো। হ্যাঁ, জিএস পেপারের জন্য সোশিওলজি, সেটা দ্যাট শুড নট টোটালি বি ইয়োর ওয়ে অফ থিঙ্কিং। সোশিওলজি 40-50 নম্বরের আসবে ইউপিএসসি তে, জিএস 2 তে, ঠিক আছে? সেটার জন্য তোকে তুই একটা পুরো অপশনাল ধরবি, জাস্ট বিকজ ইউ উইল বি এবল টু রাইট জিএস 2 এর 40 মার্কস আনসার। তাহলে সেই ইকোনমিক্স এর আনসার গুলো কি করবি? এসিটা কতটা হেল্প হবে? এসিটা তো দ্যাট দ্য ওয়ে ইউ স্টার্ট ইউর এসে ইজ গোইং টু বি ইট, ঠিক আছে? মানে সোশিওলজি ইউ ক্যান ডু দ্য কোর টপিকস, মানে সেটা তোকে জিএস 2 এর জন্য সোশিওলজি তো করতেই হবে, রাইট? জিএস 2 এর জন্য একটুখানি সোসাইটি, নট সোশিওলজি, সোসাইটি, রাইট? একটুখানি পড়তেই হবে, রাইট? সেখান থেকে ট্রাই টু টেক আপ দ্য মেজর পয়েন্টস অর মেজর ইউ ক্যান সে হাইপোথিসিস অর মেজর, মানে যে থিওরিটা আছে সেটা নিয়ে নি। কিন্তু ডু নট বেস ইয়োর হোল টেক অন অপশনাল জাস্ট বাই থিঙ্কিং দ্যাট। মানে শুধু ওই জিএস 2 এর 40 নম্বর উঠে যাবে ভালো করে বলে, বা এসেতে হেল্প হয়ে যাবে বলে, তোর অপশনাল ইজ ফর হাউ মাচ মার্কস? না না, অপশনালে কত নম্বর থাকে দুটো পেপার মিলিয়ে? So সেইটা, just think of that weightage and 40 marks for your GS2, which is more, ঠিক আছে? সো ইয়োর অপশনাল, অ্যাগেন অপশনাল কে শুধু এইটা নিয়ে ভাবিস না যে মানে আমার জিএস এ আনসার, মানে যারা হিস্ট্রি লিখছে ওদের জিএস 1টা ভালো হয়ে যাবে, ওদের তো হিস্ট্রি বা জিএস 2টা ভালো হয়ে যাবে ওদের হিস্ট্রি বলে, এটা হয় না কিন্তু। তাহলে সবাই হিস্ট্রি লিখতো বা সবাই সোশিওলজি লিখতো বা সবাই অ্যানথ্রো লিখতো, রাইট? ম্যাথস নিয়ে there are people who have cracked UPSC ranked second or third, I think, with taking maths, ঠিক আছে? So I'm not saying you to take maths, I'm just suggesting that it is not necessary that you will have to go to that particular subject which is scoring or which will help you in GS. Obviously people who have that have a, you can say, edge for that particular GS paper, কিন্তু ওদেরকে আবার সায়েন্স এন্ড টেকও তো লিখতে হবে, রাইট? যারা হিস্ট্রি নিয়ে পড়ছে, যারা হিস্ট্রি নিয়ে করছে তাদের তো সায়েন্স এন্ড টেকও আছে, এনভায়রনমেন্টও আছে, যেটা লিখতে হবে। সো ফর এভরিওয়ান দ্য ফিল্ড ইজ ইকুয়াল, হোয়াট এভার সাবজেক্ট ইউ টেক। কিন্তু এটা করিস না যে সোশিওলজি নিতে গিয়ে, মানে জিএস 2 এর আনসার গুলো বানাতে গিয়ে অপশনালটা ডুবে দিস না, ঠিক আছে? হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ, লেট করিস না, বিকজ এখন কারেন্ট অ্যাফেয়ার্স, আই ডোন্ট, লাস্ট ইয়ার পেপারটা দেখেছিলিস? কারেন্ট ইভেন্টস দে ডোন্ট কভার অনলি 1 ইয়ার নাও, এটা বিয়ন্ড 1 ইয়ার চলে গেছে, রাইট? So মানে almost 15 months মতন you will have to keep in mind, that also you cannot be sure about. That is why I'm saying don't go crazy behind current affairs and general knowledge, right? যতটা আছে বেসিক, যতটা পড়বি, right? Try to take out that 1 hour every day যেখানে extra everyday knowledge পড়ছিস, but don't go running behind current affairs. মানে just imagine it is only for 25 marks, মানে সেরকম ভেবে নিয়ে করবি কাজটা। অলওয়েজ যে টাইমটা লট করছিস সেটা দেখে নিবি, হোয়াট আর ইউ গেটিং আউট অফ ইট। ইউ আর নট দেয়ার টু প্রুভ আ পয়েন্ট। তুই পরীক্ষায় বেরিয়ে তুই, সবাই বললো যে কারেন্ট অ্যাফেয়ারের এই কোয়েশ্চেনটা আমি পারিনি, ঠিক আছে, আর তুই বলি না না আমি তো পড়েছিলাম এত, আমি ওটা পেরেছি, ইট ইজ অনলি 1 মার্কস। সেই 1 মার্কসের পড়ার জন্য হয়তো that particular student has solved 10 more questions from history or any other section, whereas you could not, ঠিক আছে? So be very smart in your decision making, that what you are particularly going to do. Ultimately prelims is about simply going above that cutoff level. মেইনসে গিয়ে নিজের নলেজটা দেখাবি যে কত লিখতে পারছিস বা কত, হাউ বিউটিফুল ইউ ক্যান রাইট অর হাউ মাচ ইউ নো, ঠিক আছে? হ্যাঁ বল। আজকাল কি করছে, প্রিভিয়াস ফিউ ইয়ার্স, মানে 2-3 বছরে দেখছি যা, ঠিক আছে, সেই প্যারিটিটা সরিয়ে দিয়েছে। কিন্তু দে আর আস্কিং কোয়েশ্চেন ফ্রম জিডিপি, দে আর আস্কিং কোয়েশ্চেন্স ফ্রম বেসিক ইকোনমিক্স, মানে থিওরিটা, ঠিক আছে? অলসো দে আর আস্কিং হোয়াট ক্যান বি দ্য এফেক্টস অফ ইনফ্লেশন অন দ্য ইন্ডিয়ান, মানে যদি ইন্ডিয়াতে ইনফ্লেশন হয়, হোয়াট আর দ্য এফেক্টস অফ ইট। সো ইউ নেভার নো, ঠিক আছে, যেটা কিভাবে মানে ইকোনমিক্সটা হবে। I suggest that if you are also preparing for UPSC, you should take economics as a whole. সেখানে দেখবি পরে দেখবি যখন WBCS এর প্রিলিমস এর মানে ডেট উইল কাম নিয়ার বাই, জাস্ট লাস্ট ওয়ান মান্থ, রাইট, জাস্ট প্রিপেয়ার ফর বিসিএস এর প্রিভিয়াস ইয়ার কোয়েশ্চেন পেপার গুলো দেখে নিয়ে সেইভাবে ইকোনমিক্সটাকে প্রিপেয়ার করিস, কিন্তু আলাদাভাবে ইকোনমিক্সকে দু জায়গা করে করতে কোনো লাভ নেই সেটা নিয়ে, ঠিক আছে? হ্যাঁ, সো স্টার্ট উইথ এনসিইআরটি 11 and 12, তার আগের এনসিইআরটি গুলো আমার মনে হয় না লাগবে, 11 and 12 করে নিলে পারবি। তারপর টেক আপ এনি ওয়ান বেসিক বুক, ইট ক্যান বি রমেশ সিং, ইট ক্যান বি সঞ্জীব ভার্মা, এনি ওয়ান অফ ইট, ঠিক আছে? আর সেটা থেকে হয়ে যাবে, সেটা থেকে বেশি আর করতে যাস না। সেটা করে নিয়ে তারপর সেই অ্যাপ্লিকেশনে কোয়েশ্চেন গুলো দেখবি পারছিস কিনা, বিকজ ইকোনমিক্স ইজ নট অ্যাবাউট কভারিং বুকস অর লার্নিং আপ, ইট ইজ অ্যাবাউট আন্ডারস্ট্যান্ডিং দ্য কনসেপ্ট বিহাইন্ড ইনফ্লেশন অর বিহাইন্ড এনি পার্টিকুলার টপিক, আর সেখান থেকে রিলেটেড কোয়েশ্চেন, মানে সেই ইনফ্লেশনের কি ইমপ্লিকেশন হচ্ছে অন ডিফারেন্ট সেক্টরস অফ দ্য গভর্নমেন্ট, ইফ ইউ আর এবল টু আন্ডারস্ট্যান্ড দ্যাট অর নট, বিকজ ইন ইয়োর পেপার দে আর নট গোয়িং টু আস্ক ইউ হোয়াট ইজ ইনফ্লেশন, দে আর গোয়িং টু আস্ক ইউ দ্য এফেক্টস অফ ইনফ্লেশন অন পার্টিকুলার সেক্টর, ঠিক আছে?
How much time you should allot for current affairs notes making?
No.
Because in the day it's taking much time while
সেটা
reading that.
হ্যাঁ, সেটা করিস না, সেটাই বলছি আমি। প্রথমে যদি স্টার্ট করিস, এক্ষুনি যদি নিউজ পেপার স্টার্ট করিস, দেখবি সকালবেলাটা পুরোটা দেখবি ওই তুই বসে নিউজ পেপার বসে আছিস আর লিখছিস বসে, তো মনে হবে সবই নিউজ ইম্পর্টেন্ট, ঠিক আছে? সেটা ইনিশিয়ালি কয়েকদিন হবে, বিকজ অবভিয়াসলি ইউ ডোন্ট নো কি হোয়াট দ্য প্যাটার্ন ইজ, দ্যাট ইজ ওয়াই আই এম আস্কিং ইউ ফার্স্ট গো থ্রু প্রিভিয়াস ইয়ার কোয়েশ্চেন, যে কারেন্ট অ্যাফেয়ার্সটা কিরকম মানে জিজ্ঞেস করছে। তুই এবার একটা নিউজের আর্টিকেল নিলি, সেটা তোর মনে হচ্ছে পুরোটাই মনে হচ্ছে ইম্পর্টেন্ট, যতটা পড়ছিস সবই ইম্পর্টেন্ট, অবভিয়াসলি সামওয়ান হু ইজ রাইটিং অ্যান আর্টিকেল in paper, he will try to incorporate as much data as they can, but তুই তো সব ডেটা numbers don't go into remembering those numbers, মানে এত এত টাকা বেড়েছে বা এত এই হচ্ছে পার্সেন্টেজ হিসেবে, if the data is in percentage, that you can remember that how many folds a particular sector has progressed, or inflation টা কত পার্সেন্টে আছে সেগুলো মনে রাখবি, কিন্তু এক্সাক্ট নাম্বারস লিখতে যাবি না। নোট যখনই লিখছিস, ডু নট কপি দ্য হোল প্যারাগ্রাফ অর হোল সেন্টেন্সেস, ওই ইংলিশ রাইটিং করতে যাবি না, তাহলে ওই পুরো টাইম চলে যাবে, দেখবি বসে তুই লিখেই যাচ্ছিস, সেটা করিস না, ঠিক আছে? অ্যান্ড নোটস মেকিং, আই উড সে নিউজ পেপার পড়তে পড়তে সঙ্গে সঙ্গে লিখবি, এই নয় যে একটা নোটস মানে নিউজ পেপারটা পড়ে নিলাম তারপর আমি লিখতে বসেছি, সেটা করিস না। ইউ সিট ডাউন উইথ দ্য পেপার অ্যান্ড আ কপি অ্যান্ড আ পেন, যে একটা লাইন পড়ছিস, মনে হলো যে এটা মানে ইম্পর্টেন্ট মনে হচ্ছে, সেটা জট ডাউন করবে। অ্যান্ড ফর এনি পার্টিকুলার আর্টিকেল, ডু নট রাইট মোর দেন 5 or 6 লাইন্স, ঠিক আছে? নট মোর দেন দ্যাট, and don't incorporate the whole sentences as it is, understand? তো যেগুলো মনে হচ্ছে ডেটাগুলো, সেগুলো পুট ইন করবে, ঠিক আছে? Understood? Any other question? न्यूज़पेपर देखो, अब it depends कि तुमको what are you the Hindu is obviously they suggest, हाँ Indian WBCS के लिए देखो, you'll have to, जब हिंदू आएगा तब उसमें एक सेक्शन रहता है whereabouts in the state, so वहीं से हो जाएगा, ठीक है? Otherwise there are papers, there are you can say papers just covering the major articles of the ongoings of West Bengal, but BCS के लिए current affairs पढ़ने का मतलब ये नहीं है कि सिर्फ BCS West Bengal का ही questions आएगा, right? They also ask you the whereabouts of the things that are current events going on in the country as well, ठीक है? And Hindu and all of it, remember, if you're starting with Hindu, it will take a lot of time. Have you seen it is a very thick paper, ठीक है? So be very wise in paper reading. Just because I told you to read paper does not mean you're going to allot 6 hours of a day to paper reading and making notes. That is not a very smart decision at all. Then there's Indian Express. I think Indian Express, the language is more lucid, right? Understanding at the level, and editorial, start making editorial পড়বি, but don't go again into making notes out of editorial totally, পুরোটা বসে বসে কপি করবি না, ঠিক আছে? And newspaper reading, again I'm saying, check the sections, international affairs or international events, sports events, right? Indian events, সেগুলো দেখবি, don't go into doing the political aspect of it, ঠিক আছে? But the economic aspect of it. All right, any other question? সায়েন্স অ্যান্ড টেক ডাইনামিকটা এই কারেন্ট যদি হিন্দু দেখিস, এভরি ওয়েডনেসডে ফ্রাইডে সানডে করে কারেন্ট ইভেন্টসটা কভার করে সায়েন্স অ্যান্ড টেক, ঠিক আছে? হিন্দুতে সেটা দেখবি, তার সাথে সাথে ডাইনামিক পার্টটা কারেন্ট অ্যাফেয়ার ম্যাগাজিন যেগুলো আসে সেখানে খুব ভালো করে কভার করে, কিন্তু ডাইনামিক পার্টটা, বিকজ ডাইনামিক পার্টে কি হচ্ছে, বিকজ দেয়ার আর টু মেনি, ইউ ক্যান সে innovation discoveries going on, ঠিক আছে, new technologies that are going on, এই যে টেকনোলজি গুলো, right, green technologies or the fuel technology that are clean fuel technology, renewable energy, সেই সেকশন গুলোকে স্ট্রেস করবে, ঠিক আছে, স্পেস টেকনোলজি, দিস কাইন্ড অফ। আর ডাইনামিক পোর্শনে প্রবলেম হলে গিয়ে মানে cover it from current affair magazines, because বসে you will not be able to find, so every day ওটা খোঁজাটা খুব প্রবলেম আর প্রবলেমেটিক হয়ে যাবে। তো কারেন্ট ইভেন্টসে তুই নিজে নোটস বানাবি, যেটা হাতে আসবে সেগুলো নোটস বানাবি, তার সাথে সাথে কারেন্ট ইভেন্টসে যে কারেন্ট সায়েন্স অ্যান্ড টেক সেকশনটা থাকে সেখান থেকে করবি জিনিসটা, ঠিক আছে। এনি আদার কোয়েশ্চেন? আচ্ছা, অনলাইনে দেব হ্যাজ আ কোয়েশ্চেন দ্যাট newspaper and monthly affairs, right, should it cover? I think it should. All right, if you are newspaper covering, again I'll say newspaper does not mean taking whole cuttings and doing everything. Make notes from newspapers, ঠিক আছে, and then current affair magazines, all right, from various institute, they release every month, দেখবে অনেকগুলো আছে, don't take up too many magazines with you, maybe one just, আর তার সাথে সাথে একটা ম্যাগাজিন নিবে, clear, because magazine, why I'm saying magazine থেকে তো editorial sections গুলো cover হয়ে যাবে, all right, your answer writing will be enriched by those magazines, সেখান থেকে মার্ক করে রাখবি, সেখানে পয়েন্টস রাখবি। অনেকে দেখবি যোজনা ফলো করে, right, but yojana again is very tedious, ঠিক আছে, it takes a lot of time, so again choosing articles from yojana is also a thing, you don't have to study the whole yojana, monthly করে আসে, right, you will have to take up certain topics or certain articles from yojana that might be important to you, all right. হ্যাঁ, দ্যাট ইজ হোয়াট আই টোল্ড ইউ, যে যদি তুই নিউজ পেপারে দেখছিস অনেক টাইম চলে যাচ্ছে, নিউজ পেপার অ্যানালিসিস ভেরিয়াস ইনস্টিটিউট দেখবি অ্যাট দ্য এন্ড অফ দ্য ডে, রাইট, at night around 8-9 p.m. দেখবি ওরা রিলিজ করে নিজের একটা ভিডিও বা an article on it, these were the current events, these were covered in today's newspaper, শেখা থেকে। এবার দেখ কি হচ্ছে, সেখানে গিয়ে যদি দেখি সেই আর্টিকেলে এই একটা পার্টিকুলার আর্টিকেল দ্যাট ইজ সিমিংলি ইম্পর্টেন্ট, ইট ইজ রিলেটেড টু ইন্টারন্যাশনাল অ্যাফেয়ার্স অর সায়েন্স অ্যান্ড টেক, তো মনে হলো না এটা মনে ইম্পর্টেন্ট মনে হচ্ছে, সেখানে দেখবি সাথে সাথে পেজ নাম্বার আর সেগুলো দিয়ে দেয়, তুই সেখান থেকে সেই আর্টিকেলটা পড়ে নিবি, রাইট। তো এইভাবে চুজ করতে হবে দ্যাট হাউ আর ইউ গোয়িং টু টেক অন ইট, মানে দিস ইউ উইল হ্যাভ টু अगेन কাস্টমাইজ, বিকজ হোয়াট আই ইউজ টু ডু অ্যাট দ্য এন্ড অফ দ্য ডে দি অ্যানালিসিস করে আসে, সেখানে অ্যানালিসিসটা শুনে নিলি, বিকজ ইউ ডোন্ট হ্যাভ সো মাচ অফ টাইম এভরি ডে টু রাইট নোটস অ্যান্ড দেন স্টাডি অ্যাট দ্য সেম টাইম, ঠিক আছে। ওই নিউজ পেপার পড়ে পড়ে এভরিডে, আর একটুখানি দেখবি কয়েকদিন কয়েক মাসের পর ইট উইল বিকাম এ হ্যাবিট, ইউ উইল নো দ্যাট কোন সেকশন অফ দ্য নিউজ পেপারে ইম্পর্টেন্ট আর্টিকেলস থাকে, মানে প্রথম 10 দিন হয়তো তোর অনেক টাইম লাগবে, অসুবিধা হবে, কিন্তু দেখবি তারপরে তুই ঠিক বুঝে যাবি, পেপারটা চেঞ্জ করলেই তো মনে হবে এখানে ইম্পর্টেন্ট আর্টিকেল থাকে, এটা ইম্পর্টেন্ট, হেডলাইন দেখেই বলতে পারবি, সো ইউ উইল হ্যাভ টু কাম ইন দ্যাট হ্যাবিট, ঠিক আছে। See, why they do that is because that knowledge, that ওই যে অ্যানালিসিসটা হচ্ছে সেখানে, that is a, you can say it is for all, right, someone has curated that knowledge and it is brought for you in a crisp format, they have done the research, they have done the study, and then they are only bringing you what they think is the important point, not you, right. But while you're reading a newspaper on your own, the newspaper in hand, right, then you're doing that research on your own, then you are studying the whole topic and then you are understanding it for your own self, এই যে অ্যানালিসিসের কথাটা বলছি, ইভেন দো ইট ইজ ইজিয়ার, তো মনে হবে যে আমি কেন নিউজ পেপার পড়বো, এটা তো আমি 40 মিনিটসে একটা ভিডিও দেখে হয়ে যাচ্ছে, রাইট, কিন্তু সেটাই কি হচ্ছে, ইউ আর, there is nothing to do with you in that particular thing, you are simply a spectator, তোকে দিয়ে দিয়েছে ম্যাটারটা, তুই শুধু জাস্ট রিড করছিস, you have done no work behind it, কিন্তু and you're only studying the point that that particular content creator has thinks is important, it might not be for the same for you, right, so that is why reading it on your own is very important, very crucial, because not only do you get the gist of it, you also have a habit of comprehending lines, মানে শুধু দেখ একটা কোয়েশ্চেন পে যখন একটা কোয়েশ্চেন রিড করছিস, ইভেন জাস্ট রিডিং ইট ইজ নট দ্য ওয়ার্ড অফ ইট, reading it, comprehending what the question is asking of you, and then answering is important, and that comes from newspaper reading and mock test giving, passage reading in a UPSC CSAT paper, right, এটা কোথায় থেকে ওই হ্যাবিটটা ডেভেলপ হয়, newspaper reading, right, understanding this 14 lines of very, you know, difficult or complex passage, if you have a habit of reading newspaper, it becomes very easy, বিকজ যেই রিড করছিস সেভাবে তুই সেটাই সেই লাইনটাকে কমপ্রিহেন্ডও করছিস, তুই একটা প্যারাগ্রাফ 3বার পড়তে পারবি না, অত টাইম থাকে না যে একবার শুধু রিড করলি, গো থ্রু করলি, তারপর আবার তুই বুঝলি প্যারাগ্রাফটা একবার পড়ে, তারপর নেক্সট থার্ড অ্যাটেম্পটে গিয়ে আনসার করলি, সেটা হয় না কিন্তু। ওই একবার করেই তোকে অল দ্য 3 স্টেপস ইউ উইল হ্যাভ টু কভার, ঠিক আছে? দ্যাট ইজ ওয়াই ইট ইজ ইম্পর্টেন্ট, দ্যাট ইজ ওয়াই দে সে টু গো থ্রু দ্য ফিজিক্যাল নিউজ পেপার। আমি বলছি যদি তোদের খুব টাইম হয়, বিকজ ইট ইজ জাস্ট প্রিলিমস ইজ জাস্ট রাউন্ড দ্য কর্নার, রাইট? ডিসেম্বরে পরীক্ষাটা হবে। Now sitting down with newspaper is not going to be a very smart idea, because you all are just freshers, অনেক কিছু আছে এখন কভার করার জন্য। No, initially it was just BCS, then I appeared for UPSC interview, but I could not get through in the interview section, so I settled here. Yes. No, 21. That you will have to manage. See, once what happens is, once যেমনি economics Ramesh Singh যেমনি পড়লি, right? Once you cover for example Lakshmikant, if you study Lakshmikant, then how much is it going to change? The matter is the same, right? Only answering question changes, right? And also the pattern of question is different for BCS and UPSC. BCS has a more direct approach to questions. They simply ask you the data. এটা কে করে? But UPSC questions are more analytical in approach. Even if you know the matter, it is not necessary that you will be able to solve that question, because too many informations are required at the same time for one question. ঠিক আছে? তো সেই হ্যাবিটটা আনতে হবে, and সেটাই, that is why it took me a long time to cover, right? মানে তোকে ওই approach, এই জন্য বলছি don't go into trial and error mode. It was a mistake I did, that don't use your attempts. I wasted my attempts thinking that okay ঠিক আছে next year দেখবো কি হচ্ছে. Don't do that. First understand what you are into, understand the whole concept of it, জিনিসটা কি, what is it expecting out of you, right? And then prepare accordingly. And it is very important for you to start deciding that what is it that you actually want, ঠিক আছে? That what you are expecting out of this examination. Some people are in here for, it can be peer pressure, it can be pressure from the family or anything, right? But for you it should mean that you're here for yourself, right? Because you want to make a career out of it, you want to give more to the society than simply your own interest. That should be the core idea behind appearing for this examination. Simply just studying for this examination is not going to get you across, right? There are too many dynamics into play over here, too many factors, and each parameter should be for your own reasons. It should not be for someone else or for some other vested interest. ঠিক আছে? যে আমি এটা করছি বলে someone is expecting me to crack this examination, that is why I'm studying, এটা কোনোদিন হবে না। তাহলে it should come from you, from within, that I want to give in that amount of time, dedication, because দেখবি কয়েকদিন পর, if God forbid, if it happens that you did not crack it in the first go, right, and you reappear for the examination, you will see everyone around you making their life of their own, right, in either direction, settling down, right, having a job, earning. এখন এটা মনে হচ্ছে না, এখন মনে হবে this is the first time, it will go on, but after a while it will start hitting you that I am putting in so much of hard work, I am putting in so much of you can say dedication, and my perseverance is being tested every day for this examination, and no one understands around you. It is only you who will understand the pressure that you are in. Everybody will think of it as an examination. ওরা জানে না what is at stake over here. They will not know what the competition is, what the rate of success in this examination is. So you will have to be very headstrong about it, because there might come a time where you will feel very hopeless. You will start because it happened to me, that is why I'm telling you. You will start thinking that was it a good choice being in this stream, right? Because once you graduate, you have a number of avenues to go through, right? And you could have excelled in those sections or those lines or walks of life, but you chose this. So there has to be that solid foundation of a reason why you are here, because this much of hard work, pressure, and you can say stress, you will not be able to take it without that particular one thing. It's going to wear you down. At times you're going to feel that my life is not directed anywhere or anything. Don't allow those thoughts to creep in, because once they take over, and it usually happens once you've given one attempt and it does not happen. Second attempt you still feel ঠিক আছে একবার হয়নি অনেকেরই হয় না আমি আরেকবার দিই ঠিক আছে, but don't go into that vicious cycle of critiquing yourself. Don't be your own I would say don't judge yourself for your own choices. ঠিক আছে, because there are a number of people out there who are going to do that for you. Number of people who are going to comment on what you're doing, how you're doing. And at the end of the day, it will only come down to this thing that you did not give your 100%. That is why you did not go through. Right? But it's not that. I've seen a number of my friends, right, who have worked in more than me, who have worked in more laboriously than me, who are more intelligent than me. If we sit side to side, they'll probably know more than me. Right? But maybe one of the parameter of this whole examination did not click for them. That does not make that particular person's entire knowledge or anything lesser than mine at all. Right? That this examination is a 3-stage examination, and a very prolonged time is going to be gone behind this preparation. So nobody is allowed to judge you for that. So be very, if you're really serious about this examination, keep that in mind from the very beginning of your preparation. Because if, God forbid, again I say, I hope all of you make it through. If at any point in the examination preparation it comes to a point that you think that I wasted my life or I wasted my time doing this, don't allow that to happen. All right? You came here with a reason, you came here with an enthusiasm. Remember that till the end of your preparation, till you make it. This is just the beginning of your preparation stage. All right? Be enthusiastic, be open to learning, and be willing to change and adapt. That is very important. You have to let go of your old practices that did not work with you. It's not necessary that it is going to work here also. So please be open to that particular change. What the examination demands, I'm going to adapt to that particular need. Any other query? Let me look at the online section if they have any question. Acha. Now for language paper, all right, one of the question is that how to appear for Hindi compulsory paper or Bengali compulsory paper, any of it, right? Now, I think the amount of preparation you have till class 10 for letter writing, pressy writing, this you've already done at +2 level, right? So once you qualify this examination, you'll be giving at the main section, right? Compulsory papers of vernacular. Now for that, I would suggest after prelims, the time period that you have, every day or every 2 days, if you write one letter or one question, just attempt one question, and you have a habit of writing vernacular, it will do. You don't have to put much pressure on it for that, because +2 level, I think all of you have done vernacular well and good. We have the habit of writing it. So if you have a compulsory paper apart from your mother tongue, then that might require little work. But compulsory paper, you will be able to manage. There's not much unpredictable question that comes in the compulsory paper. Any other thing that you want me to answer? Okay, so we'll keep it till here. Okay, and if you have any query, they're here for you to help. Just use the resources that you're getting well. Use it to your own needs and make it fruitful. Every day that you come here or every day that you're preparing, remember this is for a cause. This should not go to waste just because after 3 months of preparation you feel like not studying. All right? Anytime you think that, please remember the amount of hard work you've already put in. Don't let that go to waste. So thank you all of you. I hope this session was little insightful and little helpful. And I hope all of you clear this examination, right? all the best for your preparation, and thank you. Thank you.